Hey everyone, me Kevin here with an update on what Nancy Pelosi just said on MSNBC in her interview. Nancy Pelosi just spoke and began her discussion by saying that she hopes that Donald Trump is keeping a sharp eye on the stock market as the stock market pulls back after Nancy Pelosi this morning said stimulus is not going to happen before the election. She believes, quote, hopefully he will come to the table on COVID relief. That is, hopefully, if Donald Trump sees the stock market is falling, he will come to the table on stimulus relief. Now, I'm going to play exactly what Nancy Pelosi says in just a moment. I'm giving you kind of a pre-preface here on what she says on stimulus. We're going to listen to what she says on the election as well, though. I won't play everything because some of it just gets into partisan bickering, so we'll only play the parts that matter. So far, though, the latest is that Donald Trump is pointing the finger at Nancy Pelosi, saying that the stock market is selling off because Nancy Pelosi wants a blue state bailout and because the stock market is fearful that Joe Biden will become president. Donald Trump reiterated this in tweets and in interviews today. Also, all of this news comes at the same time as JP Morgan Chase, aka, stated this morning that stocks would likely rise on a Donald Trump election. Many hedge fund managers seem to believe this as well because they're worried that Joe Biden will raise the corporate tax rate, which could hurt stocks. However, on the flip side, some say that a Biden election could raise certain stocks because there would be less volatility in China trade risks, which if we go back and zoom all the way back or rewind back to the end of 2018, we had a pretty substantial stock market pullback because of the China trade war we were in at the time. Folks, let's get into what Nancy Pelosi said here. Just remember the coupon code for the amazing courses does expire today. With those live streams, you can join every day, every morning when the market is open. So check those out. That code will expire today. Let's see what Nancy Pelosi has to say on the election as well and try to see if there's any certainty in this crazy world that we're in right now because it certainly feels very confusing and frustrating. Let's get right into Nancy Pelosi.
And it is. We want
her talk.
The market to be up, but now it's up over 1,500 points in the last 3 days because of the spread of the virus and because there is no agreement. We can come to agreement on how to stop the spread of the virus and again inject resources into our economy that will help people in their lives.
I'm going to pause there and say she says we can come to an agreement. I don't think she's just saying like we can come to an agreement by Republicans just accepting what we want. What I'm actually visioning here, and I'll say this quickly here, is that Nancy Pelosi speaks a lot with Mnuchin. She hasn't recently, but she used to. And Mnuchin said he was good. Like we had a deal on a national testing strategy and a national testing plan. I think that when Mnuchin took that plan back to Donald Trump and to certain Republicans, maybe McConnell and some of the other Republicans, they potentially looked at the plan and said, too expensive. Too many requirements on people, too many, invasions into civil liberties. Who knows? But that's probably what happened. So I think Nancy Pelosi believes that if it were just Mnuchin, we would have had a deal by now. But there are other Republican forces underneath that are saying, too much spending. I'm not saying that's bad or right. Obviously, we all want a stimulus package at this point. But yeah, there is definitely this undercurrent of Republicans saying, too much spending. Let's see what else Nancy Pelosi has to say.
Also, inject demand, create jobs. But everybody says we need, including the chair of the Fed, who has said, if you do something that is bigger than needed, so be it, but don't do anything less than.
I'm going to pause there just to interject the context of what she's talking about. What she's saying is the Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell stated the risks of doing too little far outweigh the risks of doing too much, aka spend money, provide stimulus checks, provide unemployment, provide rental relief. Folks, this morning, the Wall Street Journal, on the cover of the Wall Street Journal, said we are going to face an eviction crisis. This is serious, and these relief packages could be bailing out the eviction problems that we're going to be facing. They could bail out people on unemployment who are unemployed through no fault of their own. So she is right in what she's saying here. She didn't say this as well as I think she could have. But yeah, there is no economist who is saying do not do stimulus. Most I would say virtually 99% of economists that we read about, they say do the stimulus now because otherwise we are going to enter a period of time where we have recessionary dynamics that start spiraling out of control. And we can picture this pretty simply. Somebody gets laid off. What happens? They stop spending. They save more. They draw on credit. They're like, oh crap. How am I going to pay the bills? This sucks. It's a terrible position to be in. Can't get another job. Hard to find another job. So what do? You spend less. Well, then that business that usually relies on your spending now lays off more people. Great. Now you got more people in your boat. That business closes down. And now that owner doesn't spend money anymore and doesn't pay their payroll processor and their rent. And so that owner stops paying. And then so you get this spiral. And this is why the Federal Reserve is saying, folks, it's not just a matter of the stimulus coming. It's a matter of when it comes. Every day we wait for more stimulus, the more and more layoffs we have and the more problems we face. Larry Kudlow likes to say, oh, but retail sales are up or housing's good. Sure, that's wonderful for the wealthier people in America.
Is needed.
Let me switch topics for a moment and talk about the election. The president says he wants a winner declared on Tuesday night. Watch this.
I'm going to quickly just add a little bit of context to this. So here's the thing. We've got battleground states, obviously. Just because it's convenient, I'm going to pull up Real Clear Politics here. A lot of us, we take these polls with a grain of salt, and I'm not providing these to give any slant here, tilt. I don't care. I just want to say these are the battleground states. We've got Florida, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, and Arizona. These are some of the big battleground states here. And what happens is there are a lot of ballots that get dropped into, like mail-in ballots that get dropped into drop boxes, or they get mailed on the day of the election. They get postmarked on that day. Donald Trump believes we should not count any of those past the election day, but traditionally we always have. Now, in a state like California, that doesn't freaking matter because let's be real, California is going to vote for Biden. Not everything, it's going to be like 60-40, but Biden's going to get the California electorate, right? So it doesn't matter if California counts the ballots 3 weeks late. Nobody cares about California. But Florida and Michigan, some of these states, they will count ballots for sometimes weeks after. And Donald Trump says, no, I want answers that night. And so he is fighting to stop the counting that night. Let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this.
It would be very, very proper and very nice if a winner were declared on November 3rd. Instead of counting ballots for 2 weeks, which is totally inappropriate, and I don't believe that that's by our laws. I don't believe that.
Hopefully, the few states remaining that want to take a lot of time after November 3rd to count ballots, that won't be allowed by the various courts.
Madam Speaker, what do you do? And what can you specifically do if the president says at 11 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night, I have won, and counting any more ballots is cheating? If he makes that
in fairness, I think whether you're on the left or the right, we can literally all picture Donald Trump prematurely saying on his own accord, I won.
declaration, what can you and anyone else do?
Well, I think everyone will recognize that the president should recognize the peaceful transfer of power, which is the American way. The votes will be counted as they come in. I mean, that is to say, some states have said you can't start counting the ballots until all the polls are closed. For example, Michigan passed that in their legislature.
And that's actually important because, as we saw, Michigan is a battleground state. So Michigan says we're not going to count anything until all of the polls are closed. Well, the polls generally don't close until 7, 8, 9 p.m. So I don't know that we're going to have an answer on Election Day if that's the case, even with a state like Michigan.
So the votes will be counted until they're finished being counted. What the president is doing, though, is just to gin up his base so that he can save face when he suffers the defeat that is.
Okay, I'm going to pause here because I don't like getting into the partisan commentary. I want to jump ahead to what she says about Mitch McConnell. This also has something, this is good to talk about. Let's talk about it. I
certainly didn't expect to have 3 Supreme Court justices. At the risk of tooting my own horn, look at the majority leader since LBJ and find another one who was able to do something as consequential as this. I'm wondering what your response is, especially since, as you mentioned, he could not gather his own party to support a COVID relief bill for the millions of Americans who need that help desperately.
Mitch McConnell is not a force for good in our country. And if he...
That's a headline statement right there. Mitch McConnell is not a force for good. It's obviously a very partisan headline, but that's a headline right there. So obviously, Mitch McConnell got 3 Supreme Court justices confirmed in the Senate. He's very proud about that, but he got nothing done beyond our first heroes or the first CARES Act, for extended COVID relief when we need it most, and that's a little bit of a problem. He's tried the skinny bills, the $500 billion skinny bill, tried it twice, didn't work either time, tried doing the standalone PPP bill, that didn't work. Of course, he points the finger at Democrats and says, hey, well, it's your guys' fault. But then again, in fairness to Democrats, had Democrats said, okay, let's do the standalone PPP and the $500 billion deal, there would have been no hope for any relief on anything else, which wouldn't have, if we passed the skinny bill, we wouldn't have gotten the stimulus checks either. So it's such a nasty negotiation, honestly, and the people are the ones who are suffering.
Thinks it's a source of pride to rush a justice into the Supreme Court in a way that dishonors the court and dishonors Ruth Bader Ginsburg, as a matter of fact. And he calls that an accomplishment. He is not in any way, shouldn't use his name in the same sentence with Lyndon Baines Johnson, who did so much for our country. They're rushing that person in there so that she can be there, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday to repeal the Affordable Care Act. And not only that, to be there, as the president said, for the courts to decide on certain aspects of the election, to undermine our democracy, to overturn the Affordable Care Act and the benefits contained therein, including the pre-existing condition. And if he thinks that's a source of pride, it just shows you why he is not a force for good, and he should not even beg comparison, instead of big contrast with Lyndon Baines Johnson.
I mean, that's a pretty big statement there. She's basically saying Donald Trump got this Supreme Court nomination through to help during the election. Well, wow, that is what Nancy Pelosi just said. Very interesting. So we got updates on quite a few different aspects from her on the election, on the Supreme Court, on stimulus. One thing that I want to end this note on here is by saying, look, if there was more to talk about regarding stimulus, we would have heard it. But there is not more to talk about regarding stimulus because there have been basically no talks going on. They're not even talking anymore with the Treasury Secretary. This is honestly just pathetic, and it's very, very frustrating. It looks like almost without a doubt, 1 week from today, I will be without hair on my head, as I will have lost the bet that stimulus would come before the election. Thank you so much for watching. I certainly hope stimulus comes very soon, though. And folks, we will keep you updated with updates. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.